Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're taking a look at Maw of Souls Mythic. I try to keep a theme to all of these videos, and this one is going to be about how poorly things go, and we still complete them obviously. I show you a little bit about the inherent difficulty of the 5-man. Alright, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Specifically, a lot of us are very undergeared, as you can tell by the damage. So basically it's just me that's geared enough for these. Even Diabolical, good friend of mine, he's slightly under. He'd just be ready. I don't think anybody would take him on the beta because everyone's retards on the beta. But the other two definitely not. In fact, the Hunter and the Priest are not even 820. I think Falder's 817, and Sarah is 817. So you're gonna see, you know, how you can do these basically the second you hit max level. You're gonna see a little bit about that, and then guys, the second thing I want to talk about, okay, there's been this discussion that people are saying for some reason in Legion. All right, I'm just gonna say this right now. I got into a conversation with people about this, right, and this is what it was over. In Legion, tanking is bad. And I guess what they were trying to say was it's too easy. It's not complicated enough, okay? So we'll talk about the challenges of the dungeon where appropriate. It's coming up now. The first boss here, it was just kind of filler. The first quarter of the dungeon, nothing happens, the trash included. It's a cool boss though. It's a cool boss, and you'll see how strong DK actually is in this video, guys. Unholy DK is actually really strong now, especially after the nerfs to all the other classes. So first things first here, you're gonna see, I don't even know how this happens. All right, we just pull these two mobs. It's inconspicuous, you know, I'm just gonna pull these two mobs, no big deal. And then all hell breaks loose, and I don't know where or how. It's really really bizarre. Like, we aggro the entire fucking ship, and I'd like to actually take a moment to watch here. Let's see if I can figure out how this happens. So I aggro these two here. No big deal, no big deal. They disappear. I guess, yeah, they don't actually go anywhere. So yeah, it just doesn't, I don't see it. I don't know. We aggro stuff on the right, and then now you see the bars back there. We aggro stuff back there, and one of them is that like lantern keeper dude. You see that dude there channeling that light. Oh my god, this is devastation. And this is a big issue with the dungeon here, guys. Another thing I want to talk about along these lines, once we're down here, we're stuck down here. There is no way to exit the dungeon by foot. We'd have to hearth. There's literally no way out of the dungeon even after you complete it. So that's kind of a big deal. I don't really like that at all. That is not something I think is good design. The dungeon itself is cool. Like, I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite dungeon, but it's not any worse than Grimrail was. And Grimrail had that same issue. Once you were down there, you couldn't leave. But at least at the end of Grimrail, there was a way out. At the end of this, there's still no fucking way out. I don't know. Maybe it's not finished, but... So here you guys see a little bit about the strengths of Demon Hunter tanks, guys. I'm basically soloing this pack at this point. Everybody else just keeps dying, and I do not. I'm able to survive for a very long time, but yeah, that's basically as poorly as it's ever gonna go. Like, I don't know what you'd have to do to make this 5-man go worse. I really don't. So yeah, that's probably a good thing. So you get to see a little bit of that. It's important. I feel like it's important for you guys to see the good and the bad. Obviously, I show a lot of videos where I just slaughter dungeons. You know, they're joke face roll, but they're not, man. These are serious. These are harder than you'd expect them to be. Like, and there's that tree. If you guys haven't seen that tree, it's like an alchemy potion. I don't know where they're going with alchemy potions this expansion, but yeah, it is an alchemy potion, and it gives you 10% more stats, which is very good. Very, very strong alchemy potion. So we'll learn a little bit more about that too, hopefully, as the expansion goes. Now, those dogs aggroed as well, but they're like attacking Sarah, but she's not in range, so they're just not attacking anyone. They're just trying to melee her from far away. So I guess she aggroed them, which isn't a surprise. She's a very unskilled player. Now, I cut out another thing because it was even worse. Oh wait, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see. So at one point we aggroed this guy. Yeah, I think it still happens. So we aggroed this guy, and you see Falder the healer there run up for some fucking reason. He runs up into that hallway. I guess just simply because he doesn't know the dungeon, but that aggro's something else, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it aggro's, you see the purple lining there. That's another one of those mobs. So, I mean, this is literally like every single trash pack. We make a massive mistake, all right? So these are things that you can and probably will encounter, guys. These, people are talking about, this is kind of on my second topic now here as well, but people are talking about like, oh, look at how easy, tanking's easy, everything's easy, basically. But long story short, everything's easy. Well, look at that. I mean, what the hell are you talking about, man? Obviously, when, you've done the dungeon 1,000 times and you outgear the hell out of it, then sure, I guess it's easy. But this mistake was made out of inexperience, and it's a fucking single mob, and we just wiped to it. We pulled 2 things, and we wiped in a Mythic, in a 5-man, not even Mythic Plus, not even the highest credible difficulty of 5-mans that they've just added. It's regular. Shift from last expansion. And we still fucking wiped, okay? So, honestly, if you're saying things are easy in dungeons nowadays, just shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of World of Warcraft. You're doing fucking heroic. Or you're like a top world player doing them with top world players. Regular players like me, a 13-13 Mythic player, is wiping in a 5-man because other 13-13 Mythic players made a small mistake. Right? Do you understand that? So there you go. There's my rant on that. Now, while we wait for the next 2 things aren't too big of a deal. So I want to talk about what people are saying about actual tank difficulty. All right. So hopefully after watching this video now, you guys have seen why I'm like a little bit incensed by this topic. The tank difficulty is not what you think it is. All right. People are like, oh, it continues to be easier and easier, basically. And I don't want to name names here, but I wish I could, because this person is just doing such bad things for the community by saying this. Basically, he's saying that because threat becomes easier and easier to keep, that tanking becomes easier and easier. And I'm going to tell you why that's not true, okay? I know a lot of people may have a knee-jerk reaction and say, well, it is true. I'm going to tell you why it's not true, okay? In Classic, an expansion I played a lot, including on Nostalrius heavily, right? The only mechanic for tanks was threat, right? And I know everybody wants to cherry pick and remember, oh, it was so hard to keep threat as a warrior. Well, you're right, it was. But guess what, guys? If you had a good AoE spec like a mage or anything that could control mobs like a rogue, you didn't have to fucking care about the mobs that they were pulled off you by, because they would just frost over them or stun them and they would kill them themselves. So you had to play the game suboptimally just to allow other players to play naturally, right? And they're like, oh, a good tank would allow them to have, a good tank would have threat on everything. You're right, okay? So that's the difference. A bad tank would allow that to happen, allow, the Frost Mage to just pull threat and freeze them, and he would AoE them himself. Or, which is a slow way, that's slower than just allowing that to happen, because now the mage can't AoE, which is actually really good in Classic. People don't understand that. Blizzard and Frost Nova and Cone of Cold do more damage in Classic than they ever did. So if you had 3 Frost Mages, you probably didn't even need a tank. But anyway, so a great tank would have threat on everything, okay? But guess what, guys? A great tank needed great gear, right? The way things worked in Classic for warriors was you did shitty threat if you had shitty weapons. It doesn't matter how fucking good you are at choosing a mob and sundering it once. It doesn't matter how shitty you are at watching this backwards ass KTH threat panel to see when somebody's about to pull threat off you, when the mob has a threat threshold. It doesn't matter. If you have a shitty weapon and you're in a group with a really geared player, he is going to pull threat. It does not mean you're bad at the game. The game is badly made. That's how it works, okay? So that is no longer in the game. Think about how stupid that. Just think about that. I mean, if you really, really like that, if you really think an undergeared tank should not be able to hold threat against a overgeared player, then go back to, I don't know, man. Go back to Classic. I don't know what to tell you. That's just stupid, if you ask me. It's retarded. And it was even worse in raids, obviously. An undergeared tank in raids was like, but for other reasons too. Now, what people don't seem to remember, right? They only cherry pick that memory. Oh, how great warriors were. You're right. Warriors were arguably the only tank viable for progression rating. Okay, keep that in mind. I'm talking about fucking dungeons here, guys, right? And so is the person who is saying this. This is easy to keep threat. It was always fucking easy to keep threat in dungeons. Or, Jesus. It was always easy to keep threat in raids. You're the only tank. Everybody waits for you, and then you have threat for their whole fucking pull. Easy mode. Talking about dungeons here, guys. And guess what? Paladins were just as broken in Classic as they were in TBC. They were better in TBC because they had wings and spell power gear. But especially on Nostalrius, I don't know if this was intended or what. There was this great debate, but Consecrate scale with attack power a little bit as well. So it was even better than it should have been, I guess. But either way, I have done every dungeon in the game, both in 2004 and in 2016, whatever it was, as a Paladin tank, guys. Okay? I'm telling you that as a fact, right? So people talking about threat, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking. They're selectively cherry picking Classic memories of warriors only, right? And I agree with you, warriors were the only real option for progression. There was some people who bend the rules a little bit, but in raids it was only a warrior. So you're right about that. In trash on dungeons you had to be very careful, but it's not any more complicated than what you're making it sound, guys. All right, you're watching me do this. You're watching me do things like I have to, first of all, keep the pace of the dungeon high. If I'm just standing around not pulling, everybody's going to get anxious, okay? If I'm not doing good damage, I'm useless, all right? The tank has such an incredible amount of damage potential now. You have to be top. You have to use your C. Do you watch how I'm using my CDs, guys? I know you're not the one saying this, but like, you know, people who say this, look at me play this game. I'm using my CDs on CD. If I had potions, I'd be pre-potting on every single pull on the fucking beta, because I want to be the best tank I can be. I don't want to be you. I don't want to be some scrub who talks about the game being casual when they've only done LFR, okay? I want to be the best tank I can be. I want to carry these dudes. I am carrying at least 2 people right now. If it was not for me, if anybody else was tanking and they were not playing at the level I am playing in this dungeon, we would not have completed this dungeon. Do you see the mistakes we have made, guys? Do you watch them and think, tanking looks really easy. Oh, look at that. He's soloing things. He's all alive by himself. Everybody else is dead. I am alive because I know what I'm doing. I have a shield wall, I have a cheat death, and I'm using them very, very well, all right? I am also marking mobs. I'm also interrupting mobs. These mobs here, they have a fear. The little chick, the little chicks with the lantern, they have a very potent heal. So guess what? I'm telling my guys in vent, I'm saying, hey guys, you interrupt the chick with the heal. She casts it quite frequently. There's 3 of you, there's only 1 of me. I will solo interrupt the big guy, and guess what fucking happens? They don't interrupt the heal, so I have to do both, and the fear gets off. Like, you know what I mean? Look at this. This is as bad as this dungeon can go, and we're still able to complete it. All right, so there you go. Complications in tanking now is not about threat. It's not even really about survival for a lot of reasons in 5-mans, but in raids it is, okay? In raids you have to focus on your survival. People say things like, oh, it's just all, you just stand there and eventually press a damage reduction CD every once in a while. Okay, you do that because you're bad, right? First of all, you do that because you're doing normal or heroic maybe. But in Mythic, our fully Mythic 743 tank still dies on Archimon occasionally because he doesn't use, like, he's a monk or a bear, because he doesn't use his CD properly when that Doomlord thing spawns out on him. All right, so whatever that thing is, that big ad that attacks him, it rapes him. It absolutely rapes him. If he does not use an armor pot or a CD there, even with spam heal, 743 healers, he still dies. Okay? So you don't know what you're talking about. I don't care. I'm not even going to entertain that in raids. But in 5-mans, it's a little different, all right? A lot of the survival is going to just come from high DPS. You're not going to need your CDs defensively. Like, as you see here, the 2 CDs on the right there, guys, on C and V, I think it's, no, C and Z, okay? I just get slotted. I don't even know what that was, but there you go. Anyway, C and Z have 2 defensive CDs. All right, one reduces the damage the mob deals to me, and the other one puts down the soul fragments that I could eat to heal. All right, I'm using them offensively. Do you understand that? I'm using them offensively because it makes the dungeon go quicker, and I don't need them defensively. So you're sitting here saying, "Oh, tanking's very, very straightforward, very easy." Well, in Classic, those things didn't even exist, so you couldn't even do that. Right? Literally, all you would do is do one damaging ability to a mob a few times, over and over and over and over again. Sunder, 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 sunder. Sunder, 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 sunder. Oh, disarm maybe every once in a while. That's it. Shield Wall is a 60-minute CD. So where's the complexity in that? A 60-minute CD. Do I use it today or do I use it tomorrow? That's basically the answer, okay? So you're going to see, I don't know how any of this stuff gets pulled, man. It's just getting absurd at this point. I'm so ready to be done with this dungeon. In fact, my gear's breaking. Now, that's another thing I'm going to talk about. There's no way out of this dungeon, right? So we wipe so many times in here that everybody has to repair. In fact, a few times I have to cut it out because people just keep going instead of all going at once. If we all went at once, the dungeon would reset, by the way. I don't know if that's intentional, but if everybody leaves the dungeon, it resets. So that's something to consider. But anyway, it's my turn to go after this, I think, after this trash pull. But these pulls are no joke, man. The big dude, see, he gets the fear off there because I think I just missed the interrupt. There's the little chick with the heal. She does this like torrent heal. It heals everyone for like 5% every time it ticks, and it channels for about 10 ticks. That needs to be interrupted. We pulled 2 packs here, so there's 2 of those. There's the fear guy there, which I can't possibly get every one of. Like, it's this is not what you, I mean, you don't understand what you're talking about, basically, if you think that tanking and dungeoning in general has gotten less complicated over the years. There was a lull, I agree, in Wrath, and for as good as the Wrath raids were, and then of course Cataclysm as well, dungeons were very easy. Even at that time where people said dungeons were hard in the beginning of Cata, what they're talking about is they were overtuned, all right? They were not in any way mechanically difficult, they were just overtuned, which I think is what people wanted from the get-go. But either way, yeah, in general, Wrath and TBC, no, Wrath and Cata is what I'm trying to say. Tanking and dungeoning in general as a tank was very, very straightforward. It was not difficult. There was basically no active mitigation model at the time. They were still learning what to do with it. DKs had it, but that was pretty much it. The threat model was basically abolished in Cata. In Wrath, it was still there, but mostly only for single target stuff. Like, you'd do more AoE threat than you ever could. So, yeah, it was basically gone. Now, I love the AoE model, guys. Or, I mean, I love the original threat model. That's why I played on Nostalrius, guys. Originally, I loved healing 40-mans, but the second time, the third classic server I went on, because it's a topic for another day. But anyway, I wanted to tank. I wanted to do 5-mans, and I leveled the warrior up, got geared. I bought all kinds of BOEs, because classic is just BOE fest for best in slot. Everything's BOE. Farmed gold, bought all these BOEs, did 5-mans, and everybody played like they were playing live. And now, hell, people are like, oh, how complicated the dungeon is. Look how hard it is to tank. It's not actually difficult. There's nothing I could do about that. I can't make that easier. I can't outskill that situation. I can't tab to the mob and sunder it faster. I need better gear. And all these people are outgearing me, so there's literally no way I can play this class in dungeons and do what I want to do. I basically am just being dragged along by the mages. Every group has a mage because everybody plays a mage in Nostalrius. There's probably 11 million players. I don't even know how many. 11 million players. Guess what? 4 million of them are fucking mages, man. Imagine that in live WoW. That's how it was on that shitty server. So everybody played a mage. So you didn't even need a fucking tank. You basically didn't need a tank. You just needed somebody to keep threat on bosses. That was it. So I said, fuck this. I'm going to level a paladin then, because I wanted to give warrior a try, but there's no point in even bringing them to dungeons. They're so slow and clunky, and it's poorly designed, guys. It's actually poorly designed. So I am like, you're seeing me here, top the charts, first of all, right? You're seeing me here not die, like use CDs offensively and defensively properly, okay? You're seeing me basically drag this group along at the pace that they need to be moving at. but slow enough. Like I watch the healer's mana, I make sure we're set on that. I know when my CDs are up. Example, like if you guys watched us do CMs a couple weeks ago, I'm sure nobody actually did, but you would hear me say, all right, we're waiting 17 on pre-pot. Okay, that's pacing. That's a leadership, right? You need to be able to do that as the tank. You say, no, we're going to wait for CDs because the CDs we have up right now don't do enough damage, and the ones we are waiting for would do so much more damage to the boss that the 17 seconds we're waiting would actually be a DPS gain, okay? And that's what tanking is now, guys. It's not, oh, I have threat now, okay, I have nothing else to do. Literally, I have one rotational blocked ability, that's it, as a warrior. Paladins didn't even have a freaking defensive CD until Wrath of the Lich King. 2 fucking expansions, okay? And look at this boss. This is probably the pinnacle of the example, right? These guys have no fucking idea what they're doing in this boss. I try to explain it to them. She does this she looks to one of the sides of the boat and crushes the boat with damage. You basically can't survive, all right? So just look at my health here. Just take a look at it, all right? Everybody's dead. I mean, we have 2 damage dealers. The healer's dead. I think we res him. I don't know if it's the second time he's died now. But for some reason now you can release. When she goes down here, I don't even know what's going on in this phase. I always assumed it was like some intermission phase, but yeah, apparently now you can release. I think that's got to be a bug. So everybody's like running back. They're like, oh, we can get back. Just don't die. Just don't die. Okay, so watch. You know what I mean? So I put up C and Z, which are like very good 1-minute CDs. So I'm comfortable here for a little bit. I'm spamming my heal, which for some reason the bars still aren't showing up. I gotta fix that in future recordings. But I'm spamming Soul Cleave, which heals me a little bit. So that's active mitigation. Okay. I just used magic reduction just in case I get hit by one of those things on the ground. And now we're back, but the healer is still struggling. He's just got here and he's playing discipline. So I think I still have my cheat death. I'm not sure if it's procced yet. I haven't been paying attention. Obviously, I was aware at the time, but right now I'm not. And my active mitigation, which is on V, is back up. So I'm kind of saving that for if I get really low again, which is now. I should probably use it, but there we go. I use it. And I've been surviving with like a sliver of health for the entirety of it. And I'm still basically topping the charts, mostly because everybody's dead, obviously. But now the 1-minute CDs on C and V came back up again, and I use them again. And that's how you play tank, guys. That's how you survive without a fucking healer for a Mythic 5-man that you just watched us struggle through. So if you have any questions about how to play World of Warcraft, let me know. I'll happily answer them. But I definitely don't like the way this dungeon is laid out in terms of leaving it. It's very difficult to repair. But other than that, that's a Mythic 5-man done by very undergeared players, showing you that anybody can complete these, no matter who you are. It's not going to be pretty, especially if you don't know what you're doing, but it is certainly possible. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.